Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Nikki Clarke Show. How are you doing out there? All right, I love it, I love it. Live audience here at Go Live Studios. I am so thrilled to be back, and we've got some exciting interviews for you. So you don't want to go anywhere. This is the place to be, and thank you for making the choice to stop in and see all the greatness that's about to unfold. So to start off the show, we have an amazing young man who's been doing great things in the community, and he's here to talk about his firm, Battick Legal Advisory. Please welcome Alex Battick to the show.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am dry. It's really wet outside, but
It is very wet.
I made it. Yeah.
Yes. You know, speaking of wet locations, I just got back from Vancouver just on Monday, and you know, someone told me it's rainy, but it really hit home when I went into the art gallery and I looked around and I saw a vending machine just for umbrellas.
So you're saying you brought the rain back here?
I brought
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's so good to have you, and I'm really excited to know more about what you do. So tell us, what's your background? How did Battick Legal Advisory come about?
Yeah, it's been a lengthy journey, long time to get here, but the background generally, I'm a Brampton boy. I come
B-Town.
That's right. I come from a family of educators. I went to McMaster for my undergrad. I did sociology there, and through just a series of events, it became a calling that law is probably something I should look into. I volunteered at a legal clinic and got a job at the same time at a law firm. I realized I hated working at the law firm but loved the legal clinic. So I decided to pursue a career in law, and my goal at that time was to be in legal aid. So I traveled to England for school, stayed there for a little bit, met a lot of family, got a lot of experiences, came back and went back into legal aid and had the opportunity to work in an organization that supported young people, students and children and families. As soon as I finished articling, which is the apprenticeship stage before being a lawyer, I finished that, wrote the bar, passed the bar, and decided I'm going to keep doing this education law thing. And that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay. So tell us about education law.
Yeah, education law is just a blanket term for the industry. You have sports law, health law. These are all just blanket terms for practicing law in that specific industry. When it comes to education law, there are so many different areas of practice. For example, a lot of my work is human rights, can be employment, labor law.
Right.
We have things like criminal issues that come up in the context of education, constitutional issues, things like that. So when I call myself an education lawyer or say that I practice education law, it's more about the sector or industry that my work is focused on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give us an example of the last time you were engaged as a education lawyer. Like, what was the scenario? Without too many details.
Yeah, no, for sure. So many of my cases range from kindergarten to higher education. A common education issue is an academic appeal at maybe in a post-secondary education institution. So a student is unsuccessful in passing an exam, or maybe they're alleged to have cheated or something like that. I can be engaged for supporting them in appealing that decision. The counterpart to that is in public school, high school, for example. A student may have been accused of carrying a weapon of some sort to school. As a result of that, a suspension or an expulsion. And so schools have so many resources, so many ways in which they can overpower a family or a student. Yeah. And I'd like to think of myself as a way to support students and families in those positions. So my role really is to support them with their appeals in an education context where some of their rights, as in not being able to attend that school or being barred from entering that school for a period of time, that's my goal, to try and prevent those rights from being too much impacted.
Okay, understood. Yeah. And what are some of the challenges that you face as an education lawyer?
Oh, that's a broad question. A lot of the challenges I face tend to be with the the social environment that we're in today is really in flux. There's a lot of things that are changing. A lot of, for example, human rights is a big component of my work, and some of the ideas and things that are going on in larger society haven't necessarily filtered or entered into every work or school space. And as a consequence of that, you have some outdated practices being practiced in this current environment where we know that some things are just no longer tolerable. So a big challenge is helping all parties to appreciate this is how things are done today, and helping my clients get to an outcome that is achieved by looking at the practices today and not the ones that we used to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Staying au courant, for sure. What would you say to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I have nothing. I don't think I'd tell my younger self to change anything, but I think the message I would want to give any young person is that it makes sense in hindsight. I think at a certain point you question where the direction is going. You're pulled in many ways in a certain direction, but in hindsight it all makes sense. You can connect the dots in hindsight and then make the picture, but when you're connecting dots without knowing what's next, it's hard to see that big picture, but it all makes sense eventually.
It does make sense. So can you just outline again some of the services that your firm offers?
Yeah, my practice helps both individuals and organizations. Broadly speaking, when it comes to individuals, I do human rights claims, education law matters, advocacy appeals. But from an organizational perspective, I assist a lot of organizations with drafting policies, workplace investigations. I'm doing arbitrations and sports arbitrations now. I advise and consult unions, public and private schools, things like that. So it's a broad range of services, but the takeaway anyone should know is that when it comes to education law and the sector, education, my practice is able to support you in whatever education law context.
Awesome. So what brings you joy at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, it's being able to make my mark in some small way. And I think that this field of law, this particular practice, makes me feel like I've made at least a little bit of difference. And if I can go to sleep knowing that at least one person's life is made a little bit easier, I think it's all worthwhile at the end of the day.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. So where can we meet you on social media?
Yeah, you can look me up anywhere on social media with Alex Battick as a tag. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Alex Battick is the tag that you want to go to.
Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything that you do. All
Thank
right.
you.
So please put your hands together. Alex Battick. Thank you. We'll be back.